Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. We're so excited to have you again. Ever since Olusegun Obasanjo reacted to the death of Buruji Kashamu, there had been widespread criticism coming after him from different people. It all started with Fayose, who called it an insult, vituperated some insult on him, and said so many other things. But right now, we also have another one that just came up, and so many people's political destiny they claim had been, destroyed by Olusegun Obasanjo. But first of all, let's look at the news in detail.
Olusegun Obasanjo is actually a defining personality when it comes to Nigerian politics. For decades, he has been able to maneuver the political scene in Nigeria. Well, he has profited one way or the other, but fate had handed Obasanjo the brick and mortar to set Nigeria on a fine-grained foundation in 1999 after years of military rule. But did he saddle up the responsibilities? Well, there's this opinion that the current trajectory as a country that Obasanjo had tried, he did not probably use it well. He had a chance to redefine the course of our history, even though that was admitted that all it was not totally up to him to represent the whole interest because it was not just him. Obasanjo's administration was like a reprise of military era political assassination, a burdensome baggage of military epoch was rife under Obasanjo. Till date, there's still no peace to puzzle in the murder of Bola Ige and Harry Marshall and some other politically linked killings across the country during Obasanjo's presidency. It was due to this inefficable enormity of the bloodletting that the Northern Elders Forum and Arewa Consultative Forum asked Goodluck Jonathan to prosecute Obasanjo in 2013. We cannot exercise this chapter from our political history. It remains an eternal blot on the former president. Corruption, pursuit of vendetta were also the hallmark of the Obasanjo's administration. The sale of public assets was heavily governed by insular interest. In fact, the preliminaries of the current wobbly state of the power sector were by the failed performance of that administration. The Obasanjo government reportedly cast $16 billion into power black hole, not one living light bulb to show for it. Testifying before the Senate, an ad hoc committee investigating the privatization of the government of Obasanjo businesses from 1999 in April 2011, Nessa El-Rufai, who was the then Director General of the Bureau of Public Enterprise BPE under Obasanjo, said the former president and Atiku Abubakar, his deputy, influenced the sale of public companies to their associates who did not have the wherewithal to buy them. He said the failure of the exercise was largely due to government interference. The president and I were always quarreling over issues of privatization. Each time I told him we have a process that they should advise their friends to be the highest bidder, El-Rufai said to the panel. Perhaps where Obasanjo checked out notoriety is in the pursuit of vendetta. The former president is known as a grudgist who spares no foe even in death. His grating condolence letter to the death of Buruji Kashamu, whom he knocked posthumously in his classic Obasanjo the Vengeful, he said that the late senator who was wanted in US for alleged drug dealing escaped justice but could not avert the scepter of death. I do not spare with Obasanjo over his judgment, but however our deeds live on long after we have checked out of this plane. But I'm only concerned about Obasanjo's duplicity. His government gave evidence in the drug dealing case against Kashimu in the UK securing his release, and the late politician was Obasanjo's ally until a bitter divorce owing to divergence in Ogun State politics. And while the commandership subsisted, Obasanjo exalted Kashimu above iniquity. In one of the Omo Foundation programs of the deceased in Ogun, "We appreciate all your good works. God bless you for your good deeds," he said at the event, actually praising Kashamu. In his pursuit of vengeance, Obasanjo retired some politicians who stood in the way of his ambition. He varied with Peter Odili, former Rivers State governor, who was angling to be Umar Musa Yar'Adua's deputy. Obasanjo preferred Jonathan for certain reasons. He thwarted the mission of Odili and the encumbered him with a corruption case. The Ikwere politician procured a perpetual injunction to save himself. Also, the former president exerted himself dismantling whatever reputation Atiku Abubakar, his deputy, had, who challenged the second term bid. Had He summarily costumed Atiku in a corruption gap which haunts the political future of the former vice president till date. Obasanjo checked out Gali Umar Naba, former Speaker of the House of Representatives, and Chibudum Nwuche, his deputy, out of politics after they initiated impeachment proceedings against him. He was daft in making sure they did not return in the House in 2003. I must add, Obasanjo was able to alter the political progression of these men because their closet was also not dirty-free. Obasanjo admitted he made some mistakes, but he said they were genuine omissions. I never said that we didn't make mistakes or we are perfect, but whatever mistake we made was a genuine mistake. It wasn't a mistake we made as a result of selfishness, he told one of the newspapers in July. I think whether the mistakes were genuine or not, history will be dispassionate and granting as on Obasanjo as he has been on others, he added.
All right. Looking at the news, it clearly shows that there are a lot of things that people are still holding at heart against the former president Olusegun Obasanjo, and you can see how um, some of his ills against certain person. But then, if you want to be so sure about some of these things, if you go back down memory lane to investigate some of these names that have been mentioned, you realize that actually they were not corruption free. Some of them were involved in one level of corruption or the other. They were involved in one kind of thing. The only thing is that the problem had always been the case of, being selective in, punishing people who are corrupt. That's one of the things that actually bothers the mind. But then let's just look at some of the response of Nigerians in respect to this, because most Nigerians have come up to say a lot about this issue. And this one says, I don't think OBJ killed Atiku's career. Atiku could have been a governor before he became VP. He still has or have the chance to revive his career, and why he hasn't done that up till now baffles me. He has the network and funds and even sympathy to become the governor of a state that will afford him the opportunity to show what he can do, grant him access to funds and a huge political capital to mobilize and oil his machinery for a presidential contest.
I would actually disagree with this writer because
Yeah,
the truth of the matter is, in Nigerian politics, you go higher and higher, you don't go beneath.
beneath
How can you
exactly.
come from vice president as a
hmm
second man in command, so number two man, and now degenerate to the level of where you're now a state level
It,
person?
the issue here is that most people say he lacks grassroots support. He lacks grassroots structure, grassroots, mobilization. He doesn't have people down there who had his antecedent and who can support him. So that's why him trying to aim for presidency is becoming very difficult. Nobody has really tested him, and all of that. But even with that, if you look at the case of people like the current president of Nigeria, Buhari, you will see he didn't really have anything grassroots. But his case was like it was like competition. We need to get out PDP. So he was sitting at the apex, and he wanted to take over. So I think that was why his own case was a little bit easy. But
You
I believe that Atiku still have a chance, just like
They are
what we've heard.
to me they're all the same. We really need a new breed of politicians. Okay, what are we really testing Atiku for? We have heard the story in when he was the deputy president, deputy, yes, vice president. What changed and what will change now? We all know this whole story. Let's stop deceiving ourselves in this matter. But I believe that this issue of orderly, There was a time when Peter Odili was really reigning.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he fizzled out.
Yeah.
But we didn't really know what's up until just this fairly recently, this write-up came into the air. Now, also the fact that I could still remember when that impeachment, the lawmakers were trying to impeach Olusegun Obasanjo then. The matter died down. No, that period too, I think we heard that cars were bought. They had very brand new cars, but that was how the thing fizzled out. And it's true. Up to today, I've never really heard about those politicians, those lawmakers who moved that impeachment process.
Okay.
I must say.
Okay, and I think another thing that he did, one of the things I know that Obasanjo did was to put to rest some of the politicians whom he knew they were very corrupt and they were just waiting for more loot. He never gave them that opportunity.
That's very nice.
So all what he did was like he messed up their career and make sure that as I'm going out, you guys are coming with me, because I know to some extent you guys were responsible for whatever Nigeria is currently going through. Look at the case of Atiku. He came up and told Nigerians the level of corruption. Though they later on, being a politician, they are very good in talking, in between their lips and all of that.
Typical examples of Shomole.
Yeah, and all of that.
4 years ago, Iziyama was a thief.
Exactly.
And now, 4 years after, Iziyama is a saint.
Yeah.
So I guess that's their usual way anyway.
All right, that's what we're going to